You have proven most useful, unlike many before you. You were told what you needed to hear to become effective. You should cherish the gift you've been given. It is a leaf from Apocrypha. Only delectable knowledge will you find within its pages.
I honestly didn't think we'd get any new information before next Wednesday, so I was really surprised to get a mysterious letter delivered this week. You may have seen this floating around social media the past few days, and it is actually super important when it comes to laying down the foundation of what's to come in ESO's next chapter. In this video, we'll break down exactly how I think this will play out at the Global Reveal event coming soon, and how I think this all ties into one of my favorite options for a brand new feature coming to the game in 2023. First of all, if you're new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Hack, and I create in-depth ESO guides and builds right here on YouTube with a bit of ESO news thrown in. So I'm glad you're here, and feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more. I have a feeling that 2023 is going to be a big year for ESO, and this very interesting message has a lot to do with that. And I've got a copy of the letter over on our website, that's hacktheminotaur.com, if you want to read it completely. I'll have a link for that down below, but let me just point out some of the more interesting bits here. It starts with, the tides of fate swirl around you. The future of at least two worlds hangs in the balance, and at this particular moment, in this specific instance, you must be the thread that keeps reality itself from unraveling. Wow, I mean, that definitely hits pretty deep, but before I even got my letter, others were already looking at this from every single angle, and some noticed that the letter was unusually thick, like maybe something might be contained within or on the paper itself, and they were actually right. Shining a black light reveals this symbol, the symbol of Hermaeus Mora, who is the Daedric Prince of Knowledge, master of the Tides of Fate, and keeper of secrets.
You have proven most useful, unlike many before you.
He's also known as the Golden Eye, the keeper of forbidden knowledge, he who records all knowledge, and the one who knows. So as you can see, this already ties in nicely with the text of the letter itself, which references the Tides of Fate. So we know that Hermaeus Mora is going to have some presence within the storyline of ESO's upcoming chapter. This alone is very exciting for me because Hermaeus Mora is definitely not your typical Daedric prince, at least not in the sense that he's out to conquer the entire world. From the text of the letter and past interactions that we've had in ESO, I have the feeling that we might actually be teaming up with him, at least at first, but we'll have to see. But other than just a great character and opportunity for backstory, the background of Hermaeus Mora lends itself perfectly to one of my big wants for ESO in terms of new features this year, and that is Spellcraft. So let me break that all down for you next. Spellcrafting was part of the game back in 2014. We know this because we actually saw a demo presentation back then which looked nearly complete. Players were able to travel the world, discover secret doorways, and collect tablet fragments which they could then combine to create completely new skills with familiar effects if you've played any other Elder Scrolls games. Spells like Oak Flesh and Conjure Familiar, for example. Each skill or spell could be further amplified with affixes that might make it AoE, might give it a longer duration, make it cheaper to cast, or even transform the skill into a full ultimate ability. There was so much freedom of choice presented that it was basically my dream system when it comes to creating new builds. But unfortunately, it never appeared in the game for whatever reason, which left a lot of us wondering whatever happened to spellcrafting. Now, I do have a complete video on the Spellcrafting 1.0 system, as I'll call it. If you want to see what it looked like back then from start to finish, including several example skills that you could build and collect, I'll have that video linked in the description if you want to check it out. But like I said, this feature was essentially done, and I speculated that this could just as easily be reborn as a new chapter feature at any time now if they just made a few tweaks. So why do I think Spellcrafting is coming in 2023? Well, we already know that the content this year is going to be focused on providing more systems and features that focus on revitalizing older zones and DLCs. That's according to the ESO director's letter that we got last month. And this is exactly what spellcrafting did when it was created, by having players search for tablet fragments literally all over the world of Tamriel. This is very similar to the Antiquities system, by the way, which is one of ESO's most successful long-term features. We also know that this chapter is going to focus on one of ESO's most requested features, which, going back in time to 2014, spellcrafting definitely was that. Sure, there are other things that we've talked about since then. For example, maybe more housing slots, dungeon leaderboards, trials group finder. These are things that get requested all the time as well. But if you stop and think about the most important aspect of a new chapter, as far as ZeniMax is concerned at least, that actually is going to be sales. And while important, I don't think any of those other features are going to be quite exciting enough to boost the sales of a chapter. I think right now is the perfect time for spellcrafting in ESO, because it will place the game actually ahead of other MMOs on the market with this unique feature. Spellcrafting is really the only feature at this point that I can think of that fits all of those criteria that we mentioned. It's game-wide, it's heavily requested by players, and it's easy to sell as far as a chapter is concerned. And here's the thing too, now that we have this letter, it's all starting to make sense, because in my opinion, Hermaeus Mora would be all about spellcrafting.
You should cherish the gift you've been given. It is a leaf from Apocrypha. Only delectable knowledge will you find within its pages.
Think about it, the fact that Hermaeus Mora is the Daedric Prince of Knowledge and Secret Texts fits in perfectly. In fact, the Plane of Oblivion that he is known for, called Apocrypha, is basically just one big library. And in this library are Hermaeus Mora's black books. Now, I'll read this description from UESP because I think it's perfect for spellcraft. Black books are Daedric artifacts created by Hermaeus Mora, the Daedric Prince of Fate and Knowledge. Each book contains some manner of forbidden knowledge. Some books are from the ancient past, some are from the future. The thick tomes are bound in black covers with a symbol representing Mora on the front and emit a black mist. The books were spread across Tamriel and are usually located in the depths of ancient dungeons. Through reading a black book, the reader will enter Apocrypha, the realm of oblivion created and ruled over by Hermaeus Mora. Tentacles will emerge from the tome and envelop the reader. And most mortals who read a black book are driven insane, but those who successfully journey through Apocrypha are known to discover powerful knowledge. Dying in Apocrypha while reading a black book may simply banish the reader back to Tamriel, and rereading a book will return the reader to the same area of Apocrypha, allowing them to attempt Mora's gauntlet again or harness the power of a different piece of knowledge. So if you saw my previous video explaining Spellcrafting 1.0, this is insanely similar to how that system worked. Players basically searched for doorways across the world that took them into rooms that contained these tablet fragments. Just replace tablets with black books in this instance, and you wouldn't have to do much else to make a working spellcrafting system tied to the lore of Hermaeus Mora. And I love the description of Apocrypha here, which sounds exactly like a roguelike video game, almost like Hades. If they added a roguelike element here where you had to escape from Apocrypha after acquiring, the secret knowledge of a crafted spell, I think that would be super interesting. But like I said, I think this is the strongest guess we have right now as far as the content and features go for this coming year. And we'll find out for sure very shortly. But until then, make sure to check out our video on Spellcrafting 1.0, because if this does turn out to be ESO's new 2023 feature, then it's very likely that most of the core mechanics are going to stay the same. I don't think they would need to change much. So go check out that video next, and I will see you there.